gentlemen, and a very well welcome to the Wednesday week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. And with me on the line, first of all, we have Monsieur the Fudge. Hello there, Fudge, old boy.
All right, chaps. What? Today, normally I kick in with a whimsical European slant or some kind of story of what I've been doing. That's just a complete lie. Today, I'm actually going to tell you the truth. I'm all posh and whatnot today. Today, I've been to the badminton horse trials.
You've been hitting horses over badminton nets?
How can horses play badminton?
That's what I thought it was. I was also promised funny show jumping as well, and that did not take place.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, it was all very posh, and I bought myself a flat cap, and I've never looked so more Yorkshire down here in my life.
And of course, we've got the not quite so posh, Mr. Beastie. Hello there, Mr. Beastie, old boy.
Hello, hey up, you two. How are you both?
All right, Beastie been replaced by a robot.
I'm trying to really lift myself. Because for the last few weeks, I've just had a right downer on.
Is that some kind of euphemism, old boy?
Yeah, well, euphemism, yeah. Well, I am down with the kids. I've just been so fed up. And I've just been busting for the season to end. And it's finally over.
Is that a lie?
It actually isn't. It really isn't. It's just...
I've been waiting for punchline. I'm thinking, bloody hell.
No, honestly, I'm going to tell you, Ipswich, Blackpool and Peterborough just really, really ground me plums into the dust. It was just... I got to the stage where, at the end of the Peterborough game, I couldn't... Sorry, down, Shep.
Sorry, well, that's Atherton having a little bite. I think a blunt's just walked past.
Smithers, release the hounds. I just got to the stage where at the end of the Peterborough game, I mean, you know me, I can find something good in pretty much every game, but those three games just ground me down. And by the end of the Peterborough game, I were finally done in, and it did for me. I couldn't wait for the season to end after Peterborough. It was just horrible. Horrible.
Yeah, I was going to say it weren't the best of games, of course, chaps. We don't tend to shine when we're on television, so I will not go into too much detail about the Peterborough game because a lot of people out there will have seen it with us being on Sky. But it just looked like hoofball, chaps. It looked like we were just playing for the draw.
Well, Peterborough away is one of my favourite away games, and to be the last away game of the season, everybody's up for it. We sold out as allocation. It were fit to bust with Wednesday fans. They give us more tickets than we needed. I think they put 5,000 Wednesday fans in that stand behind the goal that only holds 3,500 because they wanted a mega payday. The sun was shining. The Wednesday fans were down there thinking, this is it. We're going to be safe after this game. All we need is a draw. Let's go out and batter them. And everybody was up. We went down on train. We went down full of the joys of spring. And when we got there and watched what happened on the pitch, it was just such a letdown. What a damp squib it was. Two really, really crap teams doing nothing, trying to avoid losing, if you like. And I was so cheesed off. I'm still cheesed off thinking about it.
It's all right. It's all right. We know what happens, but I can feel you down, mate. I can feel you down. Peterborough one was absolutely diabolical. It just like Beastie says, it was two teams. It was tentative, but it weren't like one of those tentative passing affairs where sometimes keeping the ball can lead to some nice football, stuff like that. No, whack. I'm surprised our midfielders in the middle of the park didn't get neck ache.
Well, if that wasn't bad enough, just to compound the misery, at the end of the game, all the Peterborough fans ran onto the pitch and they were all chanting, "We are staying up." And I thought, hang on a minute. As the season ended a bit soon here, I thought we had another game next week, and they were just bouncing. It was like big party time, and I'm thinking, oi, sod off! Just sod off! me and the young, in fact, all the Wednesday fans were just stood there looking at him, really, really gone. It would, get up, look, put it behind us. I can't think about it anymore. It's done me head in. We need to move on. I just can't think about that game anymore.
So as it stood after the Peterborough game, they were one place above relegation on 54 points. Millwall 1 point higher than them. Us 1 point higher than them. And Huddersfield, who looked home and dry, on 57 points. So where did that take us, Lord H?
Well, it was the whole mood around the last 4 games, really. I mean, we'd lost at Leeds, we'd dropped Blackpool, drew at Ipswich, and Peterborough, of course, were a diabolical, revolting game. And it all landed on last. It's a 3rd season in a row now. Everything's come down to the last game of the season. I mean, it's hard work, isn't it, chaps? It really is hard work.
I'm out of breath.
Well, if it were hard for us, imagine how hard it was for Dingles and Huddersfield in that game. I mean, they all trying to get on internet on the phones, and apparently it all went down, and none of them could get a signal, so they didn't know where they stood. But at Hillsborough, did any of us give a chuff what were happening in any other game? Honestly,
I tell you what, because somebody who should remain nameless for the time being scored so early on in terms of the Middlesbrough game, it settled my nerves a little bit. I had computer, iPad, phone. I had Jeff Stelling on the telly. I was like one of those 1920s operators. You know, they have to pull the thing. And then as soon as we scored, I thought, oh, sod it then. I'll just listen to it again.
Well, let me tell you, when we went there, I still had a little bit of Peterborough gloom hanging around me, like a bad smell.
It sounds like an awful disease, that.
It is. It's just dreadful. And when we got out of the car, the sun was shining. It was just trying to cheer us up. And I thought, no, sod off. Right? I'm not having it. Right? I'm going to be a mardy old git. Right? I'm not going to get into the mood for this. You can sod right off. I just want this game over with, and then I can go home and put it all behind us. And we trudged over at road, went round back at Cop, down behind South Stand, through his turnstile, and I were really, really busting, right? But I was busting for a pee, right? And I really, really were at pain stage. So I thought, right, sod you, I'll go and relieve myself. And when I walked in there, throughout steam, it was just wall to wall, though. Because we got a big crowd, it was stuffed, right? And all you could smell was old man pee, right? And then plus all the other blokes in there. And I thought, right, sod you then, right? Sod you, I'm not going to have one. So I went to me seat.
You tell him, Beastie.
Exactly, right? I'm cheesed off from Peter, but I'm cheesed off walking up at road, and I'm cheesed off that I can't get in there for a pee. So then I walked up the steps, and I'm not kidding you, when you get to the top of the steps at that South Stand Cop corner, and you can see all 4 sides stuffed with Wednesday fans, and they're all singing, it was just like the dark cloud went. It was just fantastic. It really, really was. And we got to our seats, and it was just, from that moment, right, everything changed. The sun was shining on the pitch. It looked, even the shitty old pitch looked great. Right, it looked crap all season, but today it looked great.
I don't know what it was. I remember our ground used to win awards when we were Premier League. We went down that first year, and it looked like a sandpit at the end of it. What happened?
It's since the floods, isn't it? It's not recovered since the floods, since it were like 6 foot underwater.
For anybody listening in the south, that's water.
There's nobody listening in the south.
And yeah, once we kicked off, from start to finish, we were magnificent. But that first 45 minutes were as good as I've seen us play all season, and as good as I've seen JJ play in a very, very long time. I mean, he had a shot within about 20 seconds at kickoff.
It did go a little bit high.
It went a smidge high, but that's JJ, isn't it? You know, you get one high, one wide, one ugly, and every now and again he finds net. But, oh, Lord, he was absolutely fantastic, especially the first 20 minutes. Nobody could get near him. Mazy runs, tackling, their players thinking they could do what they wanted with ball. No, he wasn't having it. He'd go and take ball off them and then run back on another mazy run. And he did this little shimmy where he did a step over, and I swear to you now, right, it was right in front of us, and the entire cop went, it was just like they'd all dropped the fruit bag at the same time. It was just wonderful. If ever there's a Guinness Book of Record for multiple orgasms, the most multiple orgasms, that was it.
Dropped in one moment.
The most fruit dropped. That was it. It was just wonderful. Of course, it didn't compare to 8 minutes in.
Right, well, go on then. I'm telling you, the only reason anybody has downloaded this show is for this moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel like I need to build this up.
Drum roll, please.
So, ladies and gents, back in the heady days when Luton Town were a championship team, and they came to us and ended up stuffing us. Steve Beast noticed a player, a man, a talismanic striker, playing up front for Luton Town of that time. Hang on. And there was whispers, there was talk, there was even newspaper reports of a done deal that we had signed this talismanic striker. That striker was Mr. Stephen Howard, known in some parts, usually the South, as Stevie Hard. He became the apple of the eye for one Mr. Steve Beast. And now, 8 years down the line, as Mr. Stevie Hard has reached the ripe old age of 64, he's now playing for Sheffield Wednesday in place of what our then leading scorer, Mr. Chris O'Grady, who went on to our local rivals, but we're not bitter about that. We decided to take on Mr. Steve Howard. And Beastie, how did that work out in the last game of the season?
It were like all my dreams come true. It was like waking up as a 7-year-old and seeing a Johnny 7 from Santa.
At this point, Beastie, had you already been to the toilet, or were you still holding it in?
I was still holding it in.
Oh, my word.
Right. Liera, right, your man, who I have lambasted from pillar to post all season. I don't know what he was trying to do, but he picked out an inch-perfect pass. He was obviously trying to hoof it out for a throw-in. Right? But for some reason, he hit this ball straight, and it shot through the Borough midfield, through the heart of their defence. And I swear to you now, right, I'm not making this up, and I'm not elaborating, and I'm not putting any shine on it. Right? The clouds parted, right? Sunbeams came down in a little 3-foot circle, right? There was a host of angels singing in the background, and I could hear them. They were going, ah! It shone down exactly on the ball as it landed on Stevie Hard's foot. He took a touch. He left the Borough defence for dead. Absolute dead. He was like a racing snake. A 67-year-old racing snake. He shot forward. He took a touch. He pulled back the hard hammer. Right? And he absolutely leathered it. And that shot through. And I'm telling you now, right, as soon as he got that ball, I was on my feet. Right? I stood up. I watched the beam of light. I listened to the choir. And as he wellied it forward, my eyebrows left the building. Right? My heart stopped. My bladder was ready to explode. And I just couldn't contain myself anymore. I could hear a little lady gasp come out. Right? It was like some kind of little squeak. And I looked at the young'un, Her eyebrows were gone. Her gob was agog. And we were just staring at each other, and we knew this was the moment. It hit the underside of the bar or the underside of the net and wellied into back at nets, and that was it. I thought my heart were going to explode. I thought my bladder were going to explode. There were fruit absolutely everywhere. Every droplet of moisture in my body left at the same time. It was just absolutely wonderful. And I looked across, right, and this Aussie owl stood right in front of me. Right? And I'm jumping up and down going, yeah, yeah, Stevie Hard, yeah. And he was doing the same. And it's a strange, surreal moment when you're sharing that expression of love with someone with a huge bulbous head and dark, staring eyes.
That's no way to talk about the young and Beastie.
It was unreal. I was sharing it with him. I was sharing it with the young'un and everybody else. And the only thing that could have made that better was for Stevie Hard to come over to our side of the cop and
hug you.
And hug me with his shirt off.
So there you go, Beastie. That was for you.
I would just, well, as soon as it went over, I felt like lighting a cig up it. I would do it. I turned to Stevie Howard and just said, "Call me."
I think what he should have done is took his t-shirt off and had a t-shirt on that said "Gay for Steve Beastie." Hashtag.
It was the culmination of pretty much 10 years of hero worship.
Clinton Morrison judges you right now, Beastie.
I still love Clinton, but Stevie Hard came first, and it was just because we've spoken about him since he arrived at the club, and I've said that he's always given 100%, but he hadn't actually stuck the ball in the net as yet, and at that moment, I just felt justified for 10 years of building him up and telling everybody how good he was. In fact, I need a moment to calm down now.
So, of course, that was just 9 minutes into the game there, chaps, and Mr. Hard.
That's something it took Beastie to talk about that goal as well, 9 minutes. Can we get the commentary of the game in the background as he's building the moment?
And it did seem to settle the whole thing down, chaps. Much like last season, we were all nervous for a week beforehand, and 10-15 minutes into the game, we were all settled a little bit more, and we actually came to quite enjoy the game, chaps.
Well, I was just saying it was the most, because of that Steve Howard goal. It was the most chilled out relegation dogfight I've ever seen in my life.
For us.
It really was, yeah. Exactly that. But for that first 45 minutes, we were so in control of that game. We were so far ahead of Butter. And bear in mind, they ripped us to pieces at their place. Right? They were a wonderful football side as far as I were concerned. I know some Wednesday fans disagree with that, but I thought they were good value for their league position. Now, we were just taking them to pieces. And on the right, JJ were turning them anew, and on the left, H was just outstanding. He was really, really, different gravy. He had that fullback in his pocket all throughout that first half, and it was just fantastic.
Well, just after that second goal, H was running down the left there, and they put a tremendous tackle in on H. It really was a really good tackle. H got up and just basically took the ball back off him again, crossed it in, and it was almost it was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. It was a wonderful recovery, fantastic. But again, it's one of those things, chaps. I mean, do you think we're going to? Obviously, we've got a few. We don't want to talk about this too much on this particular show. But are these players we're going to be looking to keep? I mean, do we think H is going to? I don't think he's going to rise up through the Man City ranks. Do you think? Maybe he's not quite that good, but he's not done a job for us this season.
I'd give Halan a 4-year contract tomorrow.
I would. I agree.
I'd also dish one to Leroy Lita for 2 years at least. Bear in mind he has been around on the scene, but he's only 29. I mean, if we're going to ship out Chris O'Grady and get Steve Howard in, age is clearly not an issue. But yeah, I'd give Leroy Lita a 2 or 3 year contract. I think since he came, he's done a lot of work up front, and I think he's been great to have around the place as well. Because essentially, he's a knob. Do you know what I mean? And you have to have some kind of arrogance to be a striker, and because you're a striker, you're a glory boy, and he's textbook mould of it. Do you know what I mean? And we've always spoke on the show before about the way he draws defenders out and that sort of stuff. I think he's been one of our best signings this year.
Do you mean Lita or Helan has been one of our best?
Lita, Helan's right up there. Don't get me wrong. There's 2 or 3 that can take that crown, but I think Lita's right up there.
Well, I'd agree with you on one part and disagree with you on the other. I think Helan has been a revelation for us this season.
Absolutely.
And he's got better as the season's gone on. And when you watch him, like he did with that, particularly with that instance that Lord H is on about, where he set off running, got tackled, went back and got the ball. When you see him in full flight with the ball at his feet, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And he is a young player who is only going to get better. Now, I agree with you. I'd give him a 4-year contract tomorrow. If he'd come to us, if we could afford his wages and whatever City want, I'd have him tomorrow in a heartbeat, because he's everything that we should be striving to get at this club. But Leroy Lita, I like him, and I think he's done a good job for us. But the rumours are that he's on a lot of money. The rumours also on Facebook and Twitter are that he's looking for a Premier League club. And there's no way on earth that we can afford that sort of thing. And if I'm honest, I think we should be looking for, maybe it might sound harsh, but better and younger.
Bristol City going down. We've spoken about him before. Sam Baldock might be up for grabs.
I would have that. I would rather have Sam Baldock or Adoma from them than have Leroy Lita, and I feel like I'm stabbing him in the back, because I think I agree with you. He has done so well since he came to us, hasn't he? But I'd rather not. I'd rather not throw so much money at him and put it elsewhere.
Yeah. I mean, bear in mind, Milan Mandaric didn't get rich by writing lots of checks, and if Leroy wants to price him out the market, price himself out the market, then sorry, Leroy, you're not that good. Do you know what I mean? You're not that good to bankrupt us. But anyway, the hot topic of last week and this week, Jermaine Johnson. What do you reckon, chaps?
The thing about JJ is, when you watch him and he's in the form that he played in the first half yesterday before he went off injured, you can't help but be in love with the guy, because he gives you everything that you want from a winger. He excites you when he's got the ball. You could actually, and I know we've seen this a lot of times whenever JJ's played, when he picks the ball up, there's a buzz about the crowd. Everybody sits up, especially when he picks it up that 5 to 10 yards outside the opposition box, and he gets his head down and he's running at the opposition, and everybody lifts up out of the seats. You can see it, right? Because he excites everybody that much. And because of that, because we know what he's capable of, including the injury periods, he has to have another contract, whether that's a rolling 1-month contract or a 1-year contract. I don't know. He has to have one, in my opinion, because when the likes of Antonio or even Helan, if he were to get injured, if we got him next year, JJ can fill in for him. Because without JJ, when Antonio was injured, we'd have had nothing. We'd have no backup at all.
Well, no, I mean, I tend to agree with chaps. For me, JJ is a must for next season. Simple as that. Another 1-year contract. I'd be more than happy with that. Yes, he is a luxury player. Yes, it's not like we're spending bajillions of pounds on him. And let's face it, boys, he's not lost us any games this season. We'll put it that way. But he certainly won us a few.
Yeah. It sounds, as much as I love Big Mig, he's probably deserved a contract more than Miguel Lera this year.
Chuff me, I've deserved a contract more than Lera.
All right, I was conceding that piece. Let's not go too far, yeah?
Well, no, while we're on the subject of Big Mig, let's go down that road, right? Come on. Let's have it out now. Don't be shying away, Fudge. Let's have it out now. Right? Come on, you've got your Big Mig on the table, and I've got my Buxton on the table.
Oh, shit.
Let's sort it out now. Right? Because we've been banging on about this all season, and one of those players, uncannily enough, has been voted player of the season. Was it Big Mig by any chance?
What, the 6-goal Big Mig and the one that set up Stevie Howard's goal? It should have been. No, listen. Miguel Lera is a threat going forward, and he's what Raider Johnson's going to be in about 10 years. He's going to be that sort of player. I think my granddad used to call the same name to Carlton Palmer. Perpetual Motion is the name. And that's what Big Mig is. And he's not young, and he's not a spicy chicken. However, we are in the Championship, and a lot of teams are guilty of whack kickball. Shot kicking football, so not to swear. And I'd have him around. I like him around. I like Big Mig. I'm trying to put a real middle of the road head on here. I love him. I'd give him a 10-year contract. No, I like him. I do. I like him. But with us getting rid of Mark Beavers and benefit of retrospect, after that's all settled down, I still think that was a good decision. I think we did need to get rid of him because he weren't that good. He weren't as good as what we built him up to be.
We?
Yeah, you lot. Well, stick up for him.
Well, if I remember rightly, Beastie had it's all down a long time ago and knew exactly what was going to happen. Never liked him, did you, Beastie? Never liked him.
Hang on a minute, right. You've just banged on at me, Fudge, about going on for 9 minutes about the greatest player that's ever worn a Wednesday shirt, right? And I asked you a question. You've just banged on for 20 minutes when all you needed to say to the question, was it Big Mig that won player of the season? The answer should have been no. That's it. But you've just banged on for 20 minutes telling me how...
I was getting there. However, last season and the season before, I thought one of our worst players in the team, and I'm surprised he was still there, was Lewis Buxton.
No!
Dun, dun, dun.
I think if you look at a lot of goals we conceded, especially the season we went down, and a good few in League One, he was out of position, he was scrambling back, he was out-muscled. And even to the early part of this season, if you go back to, let's say, what was that game that changed our season? Crystal Palace. He was woeful. I mean, truly awful.
No. Fudge, you're being sponsored by #CrazyTalk, right? Because you must have been looking at a wrong player. Since he joined this club, he's arguably been one of the most consistent players. He had a little bit of a downer when the fans were getting on his back around about that time when we lost to the Pigs at the Lane 3-2. But to me, he has been the model of consistency, and he's just got better. And this season, it's just taken so long for the fans to actually see his true value. Now, as it happens, I don't think he's been our player of the season. I think he's been very, very consistent, but he wouldn't have got my vote this season because I think there's been players who deserved the honour more than he did. But that shouldn't...
Like a bit name and shame.
Stevie Howard's on a pedestal way above this sort of meaningless, trivial trophy. Right? My top three, without a doubt, would have been, in any order you like, really, Antonio, Gardner, Kirkland. Right? Those three, for me, have stood out above the rest. Now, it's unfortunate that Antonio got injured because people forget about our players very, very quickly. But it's no coincidence that our form took a nosedive as soon as he went off injured. And we've struggled since. Kirkland has kept us in so many games, it's scary.
Absolutely. Did have a slow start.
But I can think of half a dozen games recently that we've got points from that we shouldn't have had without him. Millwall, for starters.
Absolutely. Millwall, blinder. Absolute blinder.
Yeah. That's just one off the top of my addled noggin. Right? And Gardner...
Let's not forget the winner Hull as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's loads of games that you could pull out of the bag and say and point to Kirkland. I've no problem with that at all. And Gardner has had to be doubly good because of the clown he's got at the side of him.
Right, Gardner had a woeful start though, didn't he?
The first couple of games, perhaps so. The one at Oldham, I think it was, wasn't it? And Derby, I think, perhaps not so good, but he settled in very, very quickly. And I promise you now, the more you see of him, the more you realise how cool he is under pressure, because he does not hoof the ball. If he hoofs the ball, then there's a good reason for it, and it's very, very rare. What he does is he looks to find one of our players, and more often than not, that's what he does. The ball goes on the deck to one of our players, and I love him.
To play devil's advocate, there has been one or two instances this season where there's been free kicks given away just outside the area that have cost us, and a lot of those have come from Mr. Gardner.
Well, I'd argue at that point that a lot more have come from Liera. But
the important ones seem to have come from Mr. Gardner.
Well, I disagree with that as well.
I don't know. I mean, there's that one, Nottingham Forest own goal on Semedo Day.
Well, Peterborough, did Mr. Gardner not give the Peterborough free kick away? To be fair, belting free kick.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm not going to argue about that. He has been guilty of some gaffes. So has Kirkland. So has Antonio, for that matter.
No. If we were all perfect chaps, it wouldn't be the championship.
Absolutely. All I'm giving you is as a fan of Lewis Buxton, I am giving you three alternatives that I think play better than him throughout the season or on a more consistent basis. I mean, if we're talking about Lewis Buxton in that Southampton away in the cup when he gave one penalty away and should have given another one away, they've all had the moments, haven't they? All these players.
And there is another, I wouldn't like to say award, but Mr. Buxton also did come top of the disciplinary record for our chap this season as well. With 8 yellow cards and 1 red card.
Cheating, they are, look, Beastie. He got that award because he's a cheat, he's a dirty bugger. Lewis Chopper Buxton winning awards, look.
Hang on, I've got one for your man, right? The biggest tummler that we've had at this club in a long, long time, right? He wears a chuffing padded helmet, yet it only takes the slightest touch to his noggin and he's on floor.
No, that padded helmet is for when he does dive, you see, so he doesn't hurt his head.
Well, you know what he wants to wear? He wants to wear one of them balls that they're walking at half time. That's what he wants on his noggin.
All right, Beast, all right.
So I think we've just about covered the defence there.
Before we move on from this, I just want Fudge to tell me that he was wrong. That's all.
I tell you what, Beast, look, I said it on Twitter. You won this one, and I would have got away with it too if it wasn't for them pesky Miguel Leron goals.
And before we move off this contract thing altogether, because it's been going nuts on Facebook and Twitter, and I've been drawn into some big not arguments, discussions, heated debates. Would you give Stevie Hard a contract?
Oh, Steve. Rolling contract.
Right. What about you, Lord H?
Oh dear.
Don't spare me feelings, but if
I'm not sparing your feelings, old boy. I couldn't get chuffed about your feelings. It's a difficult one because Stevie Hard to me has got a role to play. Now that role can be played by Gary Medine when he's playing well, which is
Chris O'Grady.
Yeah. Well, Chris O'Grady is more of holding the ball up, whereas Gary Medine, we've seen him do it time and time again, is knock the ball on. Fair enough, Medine's not had the greatest of seasons. But to be honest, he's been bloody dire this season, in my opinion. But he can do the job that Stevie Hard was brought in to do.
But he didn't do that when he got the chance.
No, I agree. And as I say, to me, one of the biggest disappointments this season has been Gary Medine. And I know that may be controversial, it may not be, but to me, I think, honestly, he'll struggle to retain his place at Sheffield Wednesday for next season. However, That said, Stevie Addy has worked very, very hard, a lot harder than Gary Medin's worked since we've seen him. He is at least 2 or 3 inches taller than Mr. Medin, I believe, as well, which does get him up there, and he has won practically everything that's been up there. But he's an old man, chaps. I mean...
Whoa. Forget the age thing, right?
We can't forget the age thing.
Right, well, let me put it to you like this, then. He's younger than Kevin Phillips, right? He's younger than Teddy Sheringham was when he retired.
Yeah, but they were all shocking.
Hang on. He's younger than Trevor Francis when he was at Wednesday, and he's younger than Chris Waddle was at Wednesday.
Right. So first of all, Chris Waddle.
I'm not comparing.
Different class altogether.
Right. Hang on. I'm not comparing, and we're talking about age, right? Now he also is in his interview this week. He's also said, people say you lose your pace when you get older. Well, I never had any pace to lose.
That's fair enough. At least he's honest.
Yeah, he knows. He admits himself. His game hasn't changed for the last 6 or 7 years. He is what he is, right?
So go on then, Steve. What would you give him?
Right, I would agree with you, Fudge. Actually, I would give him a rolling contract. Right, this is people need to forget about or not get hung up about contracts as much as we do. I think Prutton's on a rolling contract this season, and nobody's thought, oh, that's a bit derogatory, have they? You know what I mean? He's done a job for us. He's come in. He's on a month-by-month contract, and nobody thinks twice about it.
I'll tell you what. Let's do this then. Let's do this. Right. Name, let's say, 3 players who you'd like to see get a new contract. Let's assume that all players are out of contract at the end of the season. Yeah? So 3 players that you'd like to see next season, and 3 players that you think are going to go, and 3 players you think should go. Does that make sense?
Oh, heck. Let me have a think about that. 3 players that I think should go.
3, yeah, let's start with them then. 3 players you think should go.
Right, I know this will hurt you a little bit, but Liera should go.
Right.
As I'm concerned. I think Samido should go. And that actually bothers me because I think he's been a great servant to this club and he's loved his time here. But he's surplus to requirements. And then you've got a toss-up between Prutton, who again I love, or, in fact, no, stick with Prutton because if we're going to progress at this level, we need to get somebody in that role that he takes up. Somebody who is better.
It was the other one going to be Giles Coke?
It wasn't, actually. It was going to be Medin.
Ooh. You think he should go?
Yeah.
So, do you think... All right, so Gary Medin, bit of a hot topic this season already. A loan move, or do we just ship him out?
If you want my very honest opinion, I know it won't be popular with a lot of Wednesday fans, I say ship him out. For me, he's too hot and cold, and for a young lad like that, he should always be blowing hot. He should be ready for anything and ready to prove a point every single time he takes to that pitch. And if he can't learn something from them 2 strikers that we've had on recently, Leroy Lita and Stevie Ard, then he will never, ever learn anything. And he didn't come out at the end of that game against Middlesbrough. When all the players came out to applaud, Antonio came out. He turned up to join in the celebrations, but Medin didn't come out.
I also had some reports on Twitter, chaps, at the players' entrance when players were signing things and all that kind of thing for the young uns and whatnot. Medin didn't stay. He's toddled off straight away. And there was only, if you do look back through his tweets, it wasn't very far after the game. He tweeted a picture of himself with, I assume, a member of his family, and he said he was back home. So I can only assume that's even further up north than we are.
Yeah. I don't have a problem. If he wants to be mad, he can be as mad as he wants, but I don't want him to be mad at our club. Right?
And crap.
Yeah, well, I take, all joking aside, and as much as I love Stevie Ard, I take on board what all his failings are. They're there for everybody to see. But when he goes up for a header, not only does he win that header, that ball goes to one of our players.
Yeah.
And Medin has never done that.
It's half-assed. Medin, for me, this season has done a lot of those, what I call token gesture headers. I'm just going to jump up just to make it look like I've gone for it. Because he probably thinks, I'm crap at heading, but I'm just going to cause a nuisance by jumping and make it look like I've done something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What about you, Lord H? Who do you think should go?
Petnik, if he's not already gone. I was very, very excited about Petnik beginning of the season, and obviously we've not seen a great deal of him. Pre-season, he showed some glimpses, bits and bobs. Of course, they missed a penalty pre-season, something along the sort of lines. And
Missed one at Oldham, didn't he?
Yeah, it's since then. I mean, we've not really seen him. He got his. I think I've noticed a pattern here, chaps. This might be something you've noticed as well. If you think back to all the people that we've done a pull down your chance for. None of them are either here or they're shocking. It's ridiculous.
Right. Stevie Hard is not allowed to have a song from this podcast. Under no circumstances.
We did one for Cog, not here. We did one for Petnik, gone. Of course,
Chris Lyons.
First one. Chris Lyons, he had one. He's disappeared now. Everybody that we've done a song for, the only person that we did one for that's actually still knocking about is Dave Jones.
And so, who do you think should go?
So I'd say I agree with Beastie. Medine, for me, he's not proved himself at all at this level at football, and it just been a Wednesday person.
But like you said, Lord H, it's disappointment with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll say Petnik, Medine, and another one's a bit of a difficult one, to tell you the truth, chaps.
Go on. Not about upsetting Fudge either. Say later.
No. The easy thing would be to say Taylor, because again, Taylor was one of them.
No,
because he did. It really, really was one of those players that I was very excited for. Very, very excited for. And don't get me wrong, he's had a couple of fantastic games. But he's had some stinkers as well, chaps, and we really were expecting another Lee Bullen with Taylor, and again, he has seemed to have disappointed me slightly. And to be uber controversial, we really do need to keep an eye on Raider, because if this foot problem is a problem for next season, then I think we need to be looking at replacing that full time.
Big shout, that is a
big shout.
And the reason I say that, don't get me wrong.
Because you hate him.
You
always have. Me and Fudge have always.
Me
and Fudge have always battered his corner, but you've been against him from the start. Relentless.
Everybody loves Raider. I am
apart from you
that love Raider as well. However, when Raider isn't there, it's a problem. And because Raider's in and out so much, that's when it becomes a problem.
Would you sorry, I don't really want to jump the gun here, but would you replace him with Danny Pugh, or would you give him a contract to replace him?
Well, Pugh's had a belting season, really, chaps, really. But well, maybe not belting, but steady. What I would say, steady. He's had a steady season. Again, when he first arrived, it wasn't fantastic, but he has since then improved and impressed, shall we say. My only concern, the only reason I say that about Raider is because when he's not there, if a fully fit Raider comes back next season, bang on, happy as Larry. If he doesn't, and we're chopping and changing back there, then that's what we were all complaining about at the beginning of the season when we didn't have a settled team.
Yeah. All right, come on then. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to cut over the top of you there, but come on then, Fudge, who's your three?
Oh, mine. In my personal opinion, who should go?
Yeah.
Steve Howard, Lewis Buxton, Martin Taylor. No, I think.
Words hurt.
What, mate?
Words hurt. That was like
who should go? Who should we ship out? Yes, Pechnic for one. He looks like tubes off Soccer AM and he's crap. We should get rid of Coke.
Ooh, that's a controversial one.
Well, do you know what? I think it's a lovely story that he went out on loan, earned his stripes, did well, but he's just an horrible sod. Do you know what I mean? This is the same bloke that tried to wrestle the ball off a penalty taker who happened to be the captain when we sent him out on loan, and had a big argument with him across the pitch. It was bloody ridiculous. And I love the way it's a lovely story that he's come back into the squad and all that. Sod him. Let's get somebody better in.
And he's still not unblocked me from Twitter.
Yeah, well, there you are then. That's if there was ever a deal breaker, there it is. There. So yeah, so I'd ship out Giles Coke and well,
Say it. Say it.
I I don't know.
Say it.
I think goal machine as well.
Oh, so not anybody in defence then?
No. Defence is fine for me. That's why I finished the Lions League. Right, okay then. Heart ruling head. Who do you think will go? Sorry, head ruling heart.
That's a bit difficult one.
I genuinely think that Liera will go.
I do. I think Samido's done as well. I think that appearance against Middlesbrough was a token gesture to.
Yeah, I think Prutton will go.
Yep.
I think Bywater may well be on his way as well, chaps.
Well, I tell you what. Do you know what? I love Stephen Bywater, and I've not said it in a good few months. He's mad as a fish in petrol, and I think he's a quality keeper. However, we've got a more quality one.
We have, but we still need a good backup, and he's the one. I'd keep him. Weaver, I think Weaver will be gone by the end of the season.
I don't think he's even got a squad number now, is he, chaps, Weaver?
He was there yesterday. He came on the pitch with his family, and he's got a newborn, hasn't he? So he's got other things on his mind. But
that's no excuse at all.
Never mind that. Who do you want to keep? Right.
Hello.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the top of the wish list, I think, for me. Helen, he's been an absolute diamond, chaps.
I'd keep you.
Yeah, good shout. I would as well.
No, I mean, I don't get me wrong, I've not seen a great deal of the chap, but Mr. Olifani Janiwani, I mean, from what I've seen of him, he's been decent. He had a bit of an iffy second half on his first match. I forget what that was off the top of my head. But he seems to have been steady. What do we think?
Well, let me put it to you like this, because to my mind, we've got to cut his cloth accordingly. We can't just go out throwing a load of cash out, right? So if you can only have one player that's going to cost, say, the same as Antonio did, a decent amount of money, right? Do we have that player already at our club, and would you keep him? And then build a squad around him with cheaper players, if you like. So if Halan was going to cost that sort of money, would you spend that on him?
Oh, that's a big shout. I don't think he's Antonio money just yet. I think he could be quite easily. One more season, and I think he could be. Maybe not. Sort of. What was it? $750 we paid for Antonio. Thereabouts.
Yeah.
I'd say he's a good 50, but I don't think $750 just yet.
What would you say, Fudge?
Nicky Maynard. I'd say.
Go on.
I'd try and get Halan back in on loan because I don't think Man City would want to sell him because of the age he is, and I think he has got a future on him, but I think he hasn't got it at that club, and I think they'd want to hold on to him to see if there's any, no disrespect, bottom end Premiership clubs that would get him that have got a few more quid to spend. I would have a look around proven players around the Championship to get us to that top end. I'd start looking at Whittingham. He's not Whittingham at Cardiff has not exactly had a barnstorming season. He's been steady, but will he cut it in the Premier League? I don't know if he will.
No, he won't.
If he will.
And Dave Jones knows him well, doesn't he?
Yep. I'd look at a fit Nicky Maynard.
You say the same thing about Bothroyd.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd look at Sam Bullock at Bristol City. I'd look at Albert Adomah. Do you know what I mean?
Just for saying his name.
Yeah. I think there are players there that can do this league.
They've slapped $2.5 million on Adomah, I think, haven't they?
They're not going to get that in League One. They're not going to get it.
No. But so would you spend Antonio sort of money on getting sort of Baldock or Adomah to this club and then building around them with cheaper players?
I wouldn't spend the best part of $800K on League One players. If that sounds. I mean, let's not forget they have still gone down. Do you know what I mean? But I wouldn't build the team around them. No, I wouldn't. I'd get them in, and I'd give. I mean, Adoma would definitely give Antonio and JJ a run for the money.
Yeah. If we could get Helan on loan, on a season-long loan, and then get one of those players in as well,
yes.
I would count that as good business.
Yeah, that'd be my top scenario, and not sign any Derby County with fat reserves.
Well, this is why, and I know I'm coming back to me love affair, right? But this is why, if you're going to get somebody like Baldock in, or Adoma, Helan on loan, then you can afford to bring in a Stevie Hard on a month-by-month contract, because he's not going to affect your wage structure at all. He's not going to affect anything. All he's going to do is bring good stuff to the club. And
Are you just reading a letter out that you've sent to Milan?
I'm just sealing that envelope.
The most worrying position for me next season, chaps, looking at the team at the minute, is maybe the centre of midfield. We've got some decent players coming through. We've got Corey that he's obviously on his way. We've got a few people. Again, people are mentioning Coke, and obviously Fudge has got his views on him as well. I've not been the biggest fan of Mr. Coke, and of course when you look at people like Semedo and Proton that could be on the way out. Obviously we've got Mr. Lyons, could be on his way back. Do you think there's any chance of Mr. Lyons coming back into the side? No chance.
I like Chris Lyons, but I don't think there is. I think the team's different from when he first played, and I think he found that when he came back from injury. We expected him to just drop in, put his foot on the ball, pass it around, and do what he does. But the team's changed. It's like when you when you work in a bar and then you leave and then you go to uni, you come back and then you go, I will get some bar hours, and it's not the same. It's not the same job. It's not the same team, and it's not the same way of working. Do you know what I mean?
How dare you insinuate that I've ever worked in such a place? So, do you think that's what we could do with spending a decent wad of cash?
There's three key positions that we really, really need to sort out for next season, and that is centre half, centre mid, and striker. And those three positions have been a problem for us all through this season in one way or another. Right, they've caused us problems for whatever reason, right? Whether it's been Liera or Taylor or whoever, whether it's been Prutton or Semedo or Coke or whatever, and of course up front we haven't scored enough goals. So
tell you what, if I was to say, right, this is me being Milan. So then, Mr. the Beastie. I'm Milan speaking.
Well, he's certainly not from Pakistan, is he?
We've got 70k to spend on a player, 30k to spend on a player, and 10k to spend on a player. Which one are you going to spend that big whack on? Are you going to buy something to really solidify that back four? Are you going to buy someone that's going to make those goals in midfield, or are you going to buy a decent striker that's sort of half guaranteed to get us 13, 14 goals a season?
I think I'd buy a striker.
Fudge?
Centre back.
What about
what? Centre back.
Centre back.
Yeah, I'd buy a big shot kicking centre back. And as daft as it sounds, I know that Lera's in trouble if we get one, but I think we need one. And I mean, I'm a big believer. I'm a big believer in if you stop the goals going at one end, the goals will come for you. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's get 0-0.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Peterborough football. Score one more than.
Yeah, but think about how we started this season, and everybody were on a high, and we were scoring goals, but we were letting them all in at the end, at the other end, and that's what everybody were complaining about. We can't carry on scoring 2 and letting 2 in, or scoring 3 and letting 2 in because we'll get punished.
This is why I think we should spend money on the defence. And we tried to. I mean, we've got Taylor, we've got Gardner. Do you know what I mean? We tried to do that. I don't think we really
spent much money on those signings. Only with chaps.
No, we didn't.
It wasn't no cash spent there.
I'll tell you what, lads. Actually, I'm going to give you a bit of time to think about it. 2 things I'm going to ask you.
Hang on a minute. Whoa. I've not finished my Bin Milan yet.
No, that's what I mean. If we
Lord Fudge.
time to think about it.
Personally, I'd spend my big whack in the middle, chaps. I want a chap that's going to create goals for everybody, because we've not had a really superstar goal scorer this season. So I said, was it Antonio that finished up being top goal scorer with 9 goals? Our goals do seem to come from everywhere. And again, so your middle amount, your 30k. Where are you going to spend that one, Beastie?
Look, it's got to be up front. I've got to.
No, you've spent your 70k up front.
Oh right, sorry.
Just
right.
Yeah. Just buy 15 Stevie Hard. In fact, let's just get a machine, just clone Stevie Hard. Don't bother spending it on players. We need to spend it on science.
Right.
You're spending your big money up front, Beastie.
I'm with you. Right. Big money's up front. My middle money is at the back. I'm with Fudge on that. We need to plug the gaps at the back and then throw somebody else into middle.
Fudgy.
I'm just the opposite way around. Big money centre back, second big money up front, and then midfield. Purely because, and I appreciate your point, Lord H, we do need somebody like that. But this is Championship football. You're not going to get the ball on the floor and through the middle like Yaya Toure and Manchester City. There's going to be times that you're going to have to play ugly, and spending all our money on a centre midfielder is going to get neck ache.
But then you can guarantee that we will get the Peterborough game because there's nobody in the middle to do anything with the ball. So whoever's sat there is going to have your 70k centre back just launching it up to 10k Stevie Howard. No offence, Beastie.
Had a good day.
If he's going to earn 10k at Sheffield Wednesday, he'll be over the moon with that.
But you never know. Milan might pop his hand in his pocket, chaps, and we might get a 70k player for each of those positions. I mean, it's not likely, but what do you think plans are?
I just don't see that at all, because I think somebody on either Facebook or one of the message boards said that it's going to be something like 10 or 11 clubs in this division that have got some remnants of parachute payments. Right, you've got 3 coming down, plus all the others from the last few years who haven't managed to get back out, and we've got to compete against that. Right, them lot that's coming down, they're on 60 million out there about next 4 years, something like that. Something
ridiculous like that.
How can we, even with Milan's best intentions, compete against that? We can't. And what he's got to do is find the right players at the right price, and Dave Jones has hopefully just got to get them to knit and fit together. I don't know how we're going to do it, but he certainly ain't going to throw the cash about. No way.
Right then, chaps. So we've sorted the team out for next season, more or less. So just popping back onto the back end of this season, then, boys. I mean, all in all, I popped this out on Twitter, and we had a few responses. Sum up Wednesday's season with just one word.
Frustrating.
Fudgy?
Inconsistent.
I did like Mr. Martin Wire of Sheffield Wednesday and electro music fame put bipolar. Juggle that one. But again, it has been a frustrating season. You're right. But is it just typical Wednesday, just keeping us on his toes, chaps?
No, I think we've put some groundwork in for a good future, me. I genuinely think we've now shipped out a good chunk of the players that came up from League One, which is a universe apart from the football we're playing now. I didn't realise it was that big, but it really is. And I think we're now getting a system, and we now know where our frailties lie. And having a manager like Dave Jones, who has got literally no sentiment in his body whatsoever, he'll just get rid of whoever he likes, and as daft it sounds, that does sit well with me.
We don't have to make those decisions. We've got a big nasty man to do that for us.
And that's really well put, is that, Fudge? It's probably the best thing you've ever said, ever.
And we've never met Lewis Buxton, and he's going to dip him out next week.
I couldn't agree more with everything you've just said there. Absolutely spot on.
So from the Wednesday week then, chaps, Beastie, your player of the season. Just give me one.
Antonio.
Fudgy, your player of the season.
Miguel Herrera. Hang on, I'm joking. I genuinely can't pick. I want to say Jermaine Johnson, but I've got to say Michail Antonio.
Well, I'm going to say Kirkland Chaps because
good shout.
I'm rather keeper biased.
Okay, what about you then, Lord H? Signing of the season.
Helen.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. It's been brilliant.
Well, I think Kirkland was a signing this season, wasn't he, right at the beginning? But I did like Ross Barkley. I was a big fan of his.
Oh no, yeah, you're right there, old boy. You're right there. I mean, think of the players that have just come in and out this season. By Christ, it's been ridiculous, hasn't it?
Yeah,
it has. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, come on then. I think we can all agree on the worst signing of the season.
After 3 chaps, 1, 2, 3.
Bothroyd.
Oh my word! And again, he was one of those that we were all so excited of seeing. I mean,
excuse me, I wasn't.
Oh, of course not, Beastie.
Yeah, you were all slagging him off.
Yeah, we're all saying how good he was. I said no, he's rubbish.
I'll tell you what it is.
Anywhere near our club.
You watch his space for next season when Medine comes on first game and scores 4 hat-tricks at once.
yeah.
And he'll still be saying, I told you all about it.
You lot was slagging him off. I'll tell you what, I'm halfway through getting a half-sleeve tattoo work done. I thought, well, I'm getting old, I may as well try myself, look myself pretty, getting some ink put into it. And what I went to this guy in the town where I live, and he has bludgeoned into my arm. He's made a right mess of it, and he charged 180 quid for the process. And I was mortified, and I've had to go to somewhere else to get it sorted out. But when it comes to crap tattoos, there's always somebody worse off than yourself, isn't there?
My word.
Like who?
Who are we talking about again?
Well, hang on a minute. It does say love. You're on about this, right, aren't you? Right? It does say love.
Just for those that haven't seen it, chaps, because there will be people out there that not got a clue what we're about. And Mr. Bothroyd has had a photo of himself in the paper, which he took himself, I believe, of his wonderful new tattoo, which spells out the word love in weapons. The L, I believe, is a handgun. The O is a hand grenade. The V is a
switchblade.
And of course the E is an assault rifle.
Uzi 9mm.
And any more impressions from 20 years ago, beastieafterlife.com. Coming up next, Les Dennis doing his Mavis off Coronation Street.
Rightly do.
So no, I think it really is a case of chaps of a typical. I'll watch my language here, gentlemen. Poo-faced footballer that has way too much money and far too much time on his hands.
Yeah.
Well, that's a positive note to end on that, isn't it, Lord H?
Absolutely.
Are we not actually going to finish off the Huddersfield game?
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
We started talking about it and then went off at a right tangent.
Yeah, we did say as we went off on that tangent, we're not going to talk about the signings too much on this show. We'll leave that for another show. However, that's been done.
Remember
that. So again, going back to it, we'll get back to the Middlesbrough game, them chaps, and of course, second goal went in a corner, flung in there, and personally, it didn't look like anybody got a touch in it to me, chaps, but it was given to Mr. Lita, and I can only imagine what Hillsborough was like, Beastie. It must have just exploded.
It did, and I was still recovering from my previous explosion 20 minutes before. But you're right. I mean, where we sit at the front of the Kop, we had a perfect view of it, and we still couldn't make head and tail of who scored. But originally, I thought it would all have been Jana that had scored. But Leroy won't miss a chance like that. If he got the faintest of touches on it, he would having it, and he would all over it. He went straight out to Lewis Buxton celebrating like he'd won cup. But it was no less than we deserved, to be fair. And going in at half time, we could have easily have been 3 or 4 goals to the good, and the Borough fans would have had no reason for complaint because we were that far superior to them in every department. It's just when we came out in the second half, it was just a bit of a damp squib, really, because game were over, wasn't it? They weren't interested anymore. It
might have been a damp squib of a game, but I bet it Put the Wednesday nights at Eve's Beastie, a bit more of a party atmosphere, do you think?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt it did. Yeah, that there were because we scored so early. The Wednesday fans were in the mood for it, weren't they? You know, it were good, a good uplifting vibe throughout the 90 minutes. And some of the noise, chopping hell, it was just incredible. Belting out Dave Jones' "Barmy Army" and that that new song that we've stolen from Leicester, that Sheffield Wednesday ole, Sheffield Wednesday ole, Sheffield Wednesday ole. All three sides stood on the feet belting that out. It was just, it really was a fantastic end to the season. But the game just sort of petered out a little bit.
Well, one little.
I'd rather watch a petered out game and a damp squib.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
I'd rather chop off my left leg than be a Barnsley fan. There was one point in the game that did not make me smile, but it was a bit odd. There was a point where Lito was chasing a bouncing ball in the box and jumped up for the header, and one of the Borough players come in and gave him a right good old-fashioned flying headbutt, and both the players went right down. Of course, that's not the bit that made me chuckle. The bit that was very nice to see was one of the other Borough players come over, actually covered Lita and started shouting for the physios to come over straight away. Very, very concerned about Lita. Thing was, his teammate was behind him, rolling around in agony as well. He just left.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. He went over to Lita, put him into recovery position, straight. Top class first aiding stuff. Meanwhile, his fellow teammate is on his last legs behind.
I mean, it was very nice of him, but it did make me chuckle.
I'll tell you what we're also good about that, because play stopped for quite a few minutes at that point, and Raider, I don't know why he were on bench, because if he were fit enough to play, he should have been playing. But he was up there. He called all the players over, and he was geeing them up, and he were really getting them going, and he were clapping them on and saying, "Come on, let's see this game out." It was absolutely wonderful to see. Probably highlight at second half that. We'd already done the hard work in the first 45 minutes, so it was just a matter of seeing it out. We allowed Borough to have loads of possession, because I can't remember them having a shot on target. And the ones that they did have off target were just poor. So there were never any danger. None of the Wednesday fans felt any squeaky bum moments. There were no edge of seat stuff. It was just a good party atmosphere. Everybody waiting for the whistle to go so they could get on pitch and see the season out.
I've got to admit, Chaps, I mean, obviously last season's pitch invasion was a beautiful thing, a thing to behold, and a reason for it. I'm not too much of a big fan of pitch invasions for the sake of them, though, boys.
No, by comparison to last season, it was nothing. There were only, there weren't even half of what went on last season, creating them fantastic, memorable scenes. But it's sort of a tradition. It's not just our club; it's everywhere, right? There's always someone to get on pitch, and when I was younger, I did it as well. So.
Oh, I mean, I can remember back in the 90s, in the good old days, boys, and there was none of this sort of, if nothing had happened in the season. Of course, we had quite a few years there of mid-table nothing. Exactly. And it was just all a nice affair. Everybody stood up and clapped very, very jollily, and there was no running about that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was last season, a special case, absolutely. Of course, the season we went down, there was a different kind of pitch invasion where everybody chased the Palace players off the pitch. But I might be sounding like a bit of a killjoy, chaps, but to me, no need for it at all.
Well, to be fair to them, they did leave pretty quickly, and the players came back out, and they all came out and applauded. They all came out with the kids, which it might sound soft, but to me, it's what it's all about. Their families have gone through this season with them as well, and they want to share that moment with him. Kirkland came over with his little girl, and they were waving, and all these big hard blokes who had pushed up front to get onto the pitch, they're all stood there with their tats showing, and the 5 day stubble. And this little girl comes forward, and Kirkland says, "Wave to him," and she waved, and every single one of them waved in a really little girly wave back. Suddenly all this, it was good end to season. I enjoyed it. My gloom were gone. I'm still glad it's over. It was a nice way to finish.
So, chaps, all in all, I mean, obviously we've summed up the season with one word, but I think we may have had slightly high expectations at the beginning of the season.
Not me. Oh, no, not me.
Absolutely not. We were all...
Fudge did. He were all over it. Top 6 this, top 6 that.
We were all on such a high. But I think, all in all, chaps, I think the position's honest. We had a decent start, a shocking sort of mid little bit there, and we have fought really, really hard at the end of the season. So, I mean, 18th, retained his championship status. Like Fudge said earlier, put those foundations down, and all in all, I'm pretty happy with it all, boys. I'm pretty happy. I just like one season where it didn't come down to the end of the season.
Oh yeah, but it'd be dull then. But before we wrap it all up, let me ask you where you stand on how you think Dave Jones has done this season, because that, again, looking on the internet, on Facebook and Twitter, people are still divided about him, even now, right? And there's some really heated, angry exchanges. How do you feel about him? How do you think he's done this season?
I tell you what, I think Lord H touched on it earlier on. There's a lot of teams now in the Championship that have been up in the Premier League and they've come back down and they've got some money to spend in via parachute payments. I think if we're truly honest with ourselves, but you know what I mean, it was easy, and I was part of it, getting caught up in the euphoria of getting promoted and going straight up, just like Norwich and Southampton did. I think we've done well staying in the league, knowing the money that's knocking around in the Championship now, and I want to congratulate the club for sticking with Dave Jones through a rough patch of the season. And like I said before, he's got no sentimentality whatsoever in his body. All he wants to do is win football games. And all right, it might not fit the mould of some of the characters we've had in the past, and people like Big Ron will stick his arm around the players and all that nonsense. He's a winner and he wants to win. So he don't care who he annoys. So I'd leave him there. Even if we get relegated, I'd leave him there.
Well, in my opinion, Dave Jones, a right old boring man he gets, and I love him to bits. I really do. I think he's right what we need there, chaps. He's steady. I suppose in a way you could say that when he does make mistakes, he's not afraid to own up to them, if you like. Obviously, Petnik, to me, has been one of those mistakes. Maguire, I'm still undecided on, because he's played decent for when we've been at him. Last little bit of the season, he's done well. And of course, the defence that he's brought in did gel. I mean, you can't argue with signings like Kirtland and Gardner and signings like that. And some of those young ones look good as well. Kieran Lee, he looks like he's going to be an absolute superstar. So I'd be happy to see Dave Jones here for a good. I want to give him a real good few years now to build this team that he started. And to me, he started it really, really well.
Yeah, I can only echo what both of you said, but I think Fudge, again, he's absolutely on fire tonight.
Oh my word! Two good things in one podcast.
I can't believe it. We should have spread it all out.
I know. We've had all season. I've just culminated at the end.
You've just what?
Yeah, ignore it. Fruit bag.
It is. He has built good foundations, and I think this was the difficult season for him, reshaping the squad. We've got a lot of players in place now, and we can build on them and have a much better season. Well, hopefully a much better season next season. I love the bloke, and I think he's done an absolutely sterling job. I'm really pleased that he's managed to keep us up here and bat off a few of them critics. Although, I suppose in this game, it don't matter how good you are, somebody's always going to find fault, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well played to him, that's what I say, and I agree with what you two have said. Well done, Fudge. Two outstanding comments from you.
I'm going to say something else as well. I might go Patrick. I don't know how controversial this is going to be, but with the scenes at the end of the Huddersfield Barnsley game, with all those people just screaming, Yorkshire, 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 I thought that was amazing. And Huddersfield, Barnsley, Doncaster, Leeds, all going to be playing Championship football, all in the same league next season. I think that's going to be amazing. And I wouldn't begrudge the Blades coming up as long as we finish that.
Whoa! You've blotted your copybook now, mate. I take back what I said about them.
I wouldn't begrudge it them. We're safe. Let them come up. We'll batter them. They're in disarray.
No! I don't want them up. I take back what I said about your other two comments now.
Have I just scored an OG there in your eyes?
That was a load of crap. You're barking. Absolutely barking. Hang on. Hashtag crazy talk.
Well, I've said it before on the podcast, chaps. I enjoyed last season. I thought the banter between us and them was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed the games, and I believe I branded both Beastie and Edward as cowards last season for not wanting it. So I think it's another belting point from Fudge, personally.
No, you're both. Hashtag crazy talk. Right. You know it makes sense. Everybody that's listening to this podcast, get on there. Hashtag crazy talk. Fudge and Lord H, both absolutely barking.
Fudge?
Talking out of their fruit bags. Right, as far as I'm concerned, keep them chupping Blades in that division as long as it takes. I don't want them to win the playoffs because I love seeing them miserable. I love hearing them on Potty Heaven and Praise and Grumble just grumbling. Right, if we can get another Wednesday player in there to manage them, that'd make my day. They're absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, the last one went well, didn't it? Well done, H. Wilson.
It was fantastic. Danny, come back to Hillsborough, show us your tattoo. Just finish the season off perfectly. Show us your tattoo.
Well, there you go, Fudge. That's going to be the poll for this week, shall we say? And get it on and ask those Wednesday fans. Do let us know if you'd like to have the Blunts in our league, or if you're as cowardly as Beastie and happy to see them far below us.
I like them to suffer.
You used to pull the wings off insects when you were a child, old boy.
Yes.
Well, let's clear that up then.
Looking at polls as well, chaps. Just as a quick aside there, if everybody heads on over to the Wednesday website and have a little nose around there, I'm actually looking at it right now on the Borough game page. There's a poll on the Wednesday website now that says, "Are you a football buff? Yes or no?" 75% of the answers are yes, and 25% of the answers are no. The most pointless poll ever. Don't understand it one little bit. So follow us for your polls. Never mind these big fancy websites. So then, chaps, I think that rounds about brings us to an end for this season. Now, we will be popping back throughout off-season and pre-season as well. Of course, we've not heard from Mr. Edward this evening, and again, as we hear news, once it's built up for a few weeks, and we've got those news coming in of sign-ins and who's going out and who's staying in, and who's been doing what with. Then obviously you'll just keep an eye out for those podcasts. Will not so much be the Wednesday week, but the Wednesday when there's news sort of thing. So not quite as catchy of a title. Not that we end up being weekly just recently anyway. We would like to apologise for our absence over the last few weeks. We have been having somewhat of a struggle getting together. Beastie's been cleaning up a lot of fruit recently, and of course Fudge has been off swanning. So it has been rather difficult to get us all together. However, we've got a few plans for next season, so we are going to be here and hereabouts. First of all, I would like to thank very, very much Mr. Beastie for being an absolute superstar this season, and not only on the podcast, of course, but with his bits and bobs over there at Owls Alive, his charity work, and of course the match day tweets that he so kindly puts out for everybody. Beastie, thank you so much, old boy, from all of your followers. It's been an absolute pleasure following those tweets. Again, thank you very much, Beastie. Fudge, I'd like to thank you for being Fudge, and of course for the marvellous Twitter that is a cave called Dave. Wonderful, boy. No, it's been an absolute pleasure. Of course, very, very kind of everybody to give up the time to come and do this absolutely free of charge for the Wednesday fans out there. So really, really big thank you. And of course, thank you to Mr. Eddie, who's not here, our Wednesday night superstar. It has to be said, chaps, I think Eddie is the one that gives the most in-depth analysis of the games. Of course, Beast is there, but Eddie does like to prattle on about it far more than we do. No, he's an absolute diamond. Of course, he does do a lot of work, obviously, over there with Wednesday night as well, and it's very, very kind of him to give up his time here for the podcast as well. And chaps, it's just gone past our 1 year anniversary, so we've been doing this nonsense for a whole year now. Can you imagine it?
And let's not forget, right, that it's been 1 year. It's a full season we've done this now for the first time, and we've all realised how much work it is to take on. But none of it would have happened without you bringing everybody together. So kudos to you, Lord H, because if you hadn't have thought of this idea and got it up and running, then we'd have just been sat around on as fat asses doing nothing, enjoying life actually, and getting
not just sat here nattering about this.
Yeah, and doing meaningful things. And
so actually, I've just
getting in trouble at work for doing a podcasting course.
Yeah,
I've probably ruined about 50 evenings for you this week. So
you've ruined work for us all, and we've ruined all of our marriages and relationships. As kids don't see us anymore. Yeah.
My pleasure, old boy. My absolute pleasure. Of course, Beastie, people will still be able to follow you and get you over there on Twitter and all your other online bits and bobs. Beastie, if people want to get hold of you, where can we find you, old boy?
You can find me at owlsalive.com or on Twitter at Beastie_. And I just want to say thank you to Aussie Owl, right? Who is a big supporter of this podcast and a big supporter of us all on Twitter. And I've really enjoyed the crack with him this season. It's been really good, apart from that stupid Beastie drinking game. It's just been a cryptic pile of rubbish, right? It's just one of the worst things ever invented. But I did enjoy celebrating Stevie Yard's goal with him, and he did bring me a programme over with the special feature in about Stevie Yard, which was very good of him. So thank you very much, and hopefully see everybody next season. And
if people want to get hold of you on Twitter, old boy, where can we find you?
My name's at Dan Fudge on that there Twitter. Get involved. It's not for kids. I tend to swear a lot, and yeah, I just want to echo what Beastie says, Lord H. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have done this nonsense. And thanks a lot.
My pleasure, old boy, my pleasure. And, of course, you can get hold of Eddie over there at Wednesday night. He is a director over there at Wednesday night, so do go and obviously support Wednesday night and all the great things they do over there as well. And you can get him over there Twitter at Sausage Arms on Twitter as well. Of course, you can still follow the podcast and see the websites and all those normal things. Do pop over to the website to see what's coming up there. www.thewednesdayweek.com. Over there on Twitter at TWWcast. And, of course, you can follow me and my nonsense over there on Twitter as well at Lord H. That's L0RD_H over there on Twitter as well. Just a quick thank you again for everybody that's popped on with us on here as well. We've had Mr. Neil Hargreaves, of course, Patrick Jones of the New York Owls. Paddy Jones. Can't be calling his proper name. He'll go absolutely mad. We've had Lee Brown and, of course, everybody that's popped on here, there and everywhere. Mr. Dorothy, of course, as well. So, chaps, that's about it from me. Have you boys got anything to add?
Nope. Just hope everybody stays safe and well throughout the close season, and we'll see them all back for the new season.
Take care of yourselves and each other.
Thank you awfully for listening to the show again, ladies and gents. Be good, and if you can't be good, be safe. Thanks ever so much. All the best, and we shall see you very soon.
Chance here, a great save. A turner from McClare. Mike Hunt. A terrific goal by Sheridan.
Brexman against Jones. Get in.
You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble with saving that.
Okay.
All right, and chaps, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks ever so much, boys.
And you too.
Speak to you soon. Ta-da.
Bye-bye.
Bye.